a big hit all over. So I do think that like WWE could like expand AAA's reach. But let's not pretend that AAA has not been a big organization for over 30 years. They have.
Yeah.
They've been the number two, probably like I look. I'm not going to sit and pretend that I know a lot about Lucha Libre and that I know a lot about AAA, but they've had some really big houses over the years, a lot of big feuds, a lot of big events. I would say CMLL's like been the number one for forever since its inception, right? So AAA came on around in like 1993 as kind of a repudiation of CMLL's old ways. So Conan and a bunch of dudes like broke off and formed AAA. AAA was supposed to be like the anti-CMLL there for a little while. I will say I was shocked when I saw that WWE had bought AAA. I did not see it come. I was completely blindsided. There were people on Twitter, like I go back in their tweets now. There were a couple of people that actually predicted this, like much to my surprise, because I just completely did not see it coming. What did you think when you first saw the WWE bought AAA?
So it was so I sent you the WrestleVotes tweet first, right, about Worlds Collide,
Right.
and they said NXT and AAA, and they put that out right as NXT announced the Battleground show for late May, I think May 25th. So I was like hesitant. I was like, like they're about 50-50 with WrestleVotes. We'll see.
WrestleVotes, I think, is pretty plugged in with WWE though. He puts out a lot of stuff that they want him to put out. It seems like that's my perception. I don't know if that's true or not. It's just the way
So I was like very hesitant to be like, okay, yeah, this is real. And I was watching the pre-show. I was actually like making food, getting ready for WrestleMania. And it was Michael Cole kept hyping up. He's like, we've got a major announcement with Triple H, with Paul Levesque. He kept saying that. I assumed it was going to be Rey Mysterio pulling out of the match and the replacement. And then they had the whole, everybody up there with Triple H and Vikingo like front and center. And they just so nonchalantly said TKO WWE has acquired AAA. And I text you immediately because I was just getting ready to like put in the Discord like, all right, they've officially announced Worlds Collide. And then I had to delete that. I was like, laugh my ass off. They bought them. Like,
So I was getting texts from you and Matt. I was actually out trying to go for a jog, but brother, I am 42 years old now, and goddamn, I'm feeling it. So 2 weeks ago, I strained my calf doing one of my beach runs. Humble brag, I messed it up at about the 4.5 mile mark, and I had to like walk the rest. I walked like another mile, and so I took a week off. I was in Kauai anyway, like that the rest of the time. So I took a week off, and I was trying to get in a jog last week, and like within 2 minutes, my calf just pulled on me. Right. It wasn't too bad, nothing crazy, but so I stayed off of it for another week. I decided to go jog today because I was like, man, I'm like going up and down these stairs pretty good. I'm chasing the kids around, like my daughter and her friends and stuff like that. So I think I can go out for another jog. I get less than a mile down the road and I completely blew it. Like the calf is gone. I need a new calf. I might have to get like a Buff Bagwell calf transplant or something like that. So, like thankfully you and Matt Tristo at the same time were texting me and giving me the play-by-play. And so what I did was it's like, well, since I can't jog, I just pulled up Peacock on my phone. And while I walked home in shame, I watched the announcement. I rewound it. And it was pretty surreal, man. So here's the thing about AAA. Again, I'm not a AAA expert. I'm not pretending to be. I have seen lots of AAA in the past. What I can say is AAA fucking sucks.
Like so my initial thought,
shit show, bro. It's some of the worst events I've ever seen in my life. AAA events.
So my initial thought, because like their roster has been depleted over the last 2 or 3 years of just everybody, all the big stars going to America. I'm not going to say like this is good for the business as a whole. Like it's never good when the biggest company keeps acquiring other companies. With that being said, it feels to me more like AEW acquiring a Ring of Honor, where like you would rather Ring of Honor be owned by somebody else, but Ring of Honor was doing bad business and didn't really have a good roster, so at least the brand can stay alive. I
Well,
don't know where AAA's business was, but they haven't been doing great things the last couple of years.
yeah. I don't know that they were going out of business though.
No, no, not going out of business. Like Ring of Honor was going out of business.
Ring of Honor went out of business. They
Yeah,
folded up,
right.
and
So AAA was not on that path,
no.
but they weren't doing, like, it would be a lot worse to me for the business overall if they were acquiring CMLL, right? Like
Yeah.
CMLL was doing hot. If WWE went and acquired them and pulled CMLL back from working with New Japan and AEW, that would be a lot more major to me. But AAA, like, they just kind of felt a very distant second place. So I'm not going to say it's great for the business, but it's not, the end of the world for the business either, because like not a lot of
I
guys were
think
going there anyway.
I think they WWE could come in and completely fuck up Mexico, right? Because we at least
Yeah.
right now have one company that is still like doing really good. Like and AAA, I mean they just had recently, like they have a good TV deal there as far as I can tell.
Mhm.
They're still doing big houses, although some of them are inflated a bit. Like they do a lot of
Yeah.
free shows and stuff like that. So they did lose a lot of talent, but they're really good at replenishing their talent. They got a lot of young talent. None of them are like significant stars. You know,
Mhm.
Alberto is their champion. So here's the thing. This is very much, it's a lot less like AEW buying Ring of Honor because Ring of Honor died. This is very much like WWE going into a new territory in the 80s
Yeah.
and taking them out. You know what I mean? Like buying them up because they want to infiltrate that region.
Yeah.
Mexico is one of those regions that WWE has never really been able to penetrate. They can go in there and do some big shows here and there, but they haven't really had any sustained success in
Mhm.
Mexico. Similarly, they have not really had any sustained success in Japan, right? They go into Japan and they're behind New Japan. When they go into Mexico, they're behind CMLL and AAA. Unfortunately, AAA just couldn't, keep it together, and then now they have sold. So WWE is coming in to buy them. Triple H was just on the thing. I just saw the play-by-play on Twitter. He was just on the post-show press conference, and he was saying that they want to keep, AAA, Lucha Libre. They don't want to go
Yeah.
in there and change what they're doing. I would love to believe that. But history has shown me that that's not the case. That's not what they
Right.
do. Like I get the feeling they're going to go in there and make it WWE style Lucha Libre, and will that be successful? I don't know. Will they just call it WWE Mexico after a while because they're
Yeah.
what they're trying to do is they want WWE to be more global than it already is. And Mexico and Japan are the two regions that they have not been able to successfully penetrate and become the number one dominant brand in the region. So I think they bought AAA and they go in there. They're gonna prop it up, and then if they're gonna prop it up, they're probably gonna spend some money on it,
Mhm.
and they're CMLL is doing really well, but what they don't do very well is pay their top talent very well,
Yeah.
right? Like those guys are not making a ton of money. Could WWE, sign some of those guys? And if they do, they inflate AAA. They sign some CMLL guys, bring them over, hurt CMLL. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up two companies, and then all of a sudden we have WWE Mexico, and we don't have AAA anymore, and we also don't have CMLL anymore. I think it's appropriate to go in there and be kind of a doomers in this
Yeah.
situation because of the track record here with WWE.
Yeah, one thing I take from that is CMLL just needs to pay their guys better, because anytime I see anything from Arena Mexico, that place is always packed. So
Packed and rocking, dude,
yeah,
rocking.
packed and rocking. And I've been told, again, I've not been to Arena Mexico myself. I've been told a lot of Arena Mexico is usually tourists who come in, and it's like a big tourist thing. Like obviously CMLL and Lucha Libre in the culture of Mexico, but I've been told like Arena Mexico is very touristy as well. So anybody can correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah.
But they, just you got to pay your guys more. Hopefully it gets people paid more in CMLL. I'm really curious what they're going to do on the creative side of AAA. Like, I don't think Triple H has the time to try to run that himself.
No.
He doesn't, like, from the relationships I know of him, like, Shawn Michaels just made a lot of sense for NXT, right? William Regal makes a lot of sense to be his right hand man guy on Raw and SmackDown. I don't see the guy who makes a lot of sense for him to place in AAA, right? Like,
Well,
are they going to have Rey Mysterio be more
no,
involved there?
it's going to be Conan. Conan has been the booker. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think Rey Mysterio is probably going to be involved in this company.
Yeah.
It's somewhere. That is his brother. That's his his
Yeah.
mentor. I think Conan stays involved, and I think that that's not a good thing for AAA because he's been the booker, and he just can't keep it together with some of that
Right.
creative. Like he does the same shit over and over again. It's always like these crazy turns and
Right.
very Vince Russo-esque type booking there, which is kind of what's killed that place. The two things that have killed AAA, and again, I'm a novice when it comes to the topic, but the two things that killed AAA is like, obviously losing a lot of their talent and just like piss poor management and booking. And could WWE turn that thing around? I don't know. Could they find somebody that knows enough about Lucha Libre to go in there and be able to book it appropriately? I don't know. I think all that remains to be seen. We'll see what's what they have in store. One of the things obviously they're going to be doing a little bit better because WWE has been signing up a ton of luchadors lately.
Yeah.
And
I don't think this is a coincidence. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been no coincidence. They just signed, Pentagon, Ray Phoenix, Dragon Lee. And then of course they've had Mysterio and El Hijo del Fantasma. What's his name?
Cool. Santos Escobar.
They gave him the most generic. Yeah. They gave Escobar the most generic Mexican name of all time.
Yeah. You forgot the big one, El Grande Americano.
Yeah. Bro, dude, a lot of like bleeding heart white libs are pissed about that guy.
Yeah. So I tell you what, with my most King of the Hill line there, I don't think it was. I think it means something that Vikingo got physical with. Like, I think that means something, and I think we're going to see something at Worlds Collide. If Vikingo can stay healthy for that long, the guy, he does take a lot of bumps and a lot of injuries.
Vikingo's in an Ultimate X match coming up next week.
Yeah.
I don't know if the brothers' knees are going to hold up. We'll see though.
Yeah. But I think that definitely means something, and I think that would be a match for Worlds Collide. And Gable and Grande Americano, whatever, he is an ultimate professional, and he would be the guy that I think would be great for Vikingo to have his first WWE AAA match with. So I'm interested to see where that goes, at least.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where that goes. So I wasn't planning on going live, but I said fuck it, we'll do it live. Let's see,
Bill O'Reilly,
Mike Gilbert. Did you see that I promoted you in a tweet? Please send royalties appropriately. I did not see. Oh, I did see that. Thank you. Yeah. So we'll get to that because I do have a question. I want to get the chat's thoughts on it. So King of the North says AAA is alive. Ring of Honor was dead and closed, and TK bought it. It's not comparable. Yeah. And then I got this other brother in here, giving me all kinds of all caps comments, brother. There's a lot, and I feel like you're yelling at me, so I'm not gonna read them. Like, if you want to yell at me, at least do a super chat. All right, Axe, brother Axe. Me and him had a good back and forth today. He says AAA were losing money and the market is headed towards a recession. This was their best exit strategy option. That makes sense.
Are we charging tariffs on luchadors?
I don't know, but since WWE is MAGA, you would think that maybe they would get that waived. They would get like a WWE tariff. Like
luchador waiver,
kind of like what Steve, but not Steve Jobs, but who's the other fucking guy for Apple?
Steve Apple, whatever.
Yeah,
same guy.
Yeah, that guy, not the dead guy, the new guy that's not dead yet. Him.
Tim Cook.
Yeah, so they there's like a tech exemption. Maybe we'll get like a luchador exemption on that. Let's see. Axe also says UFC 317 is headed to Arena Guadalajara for Noche UFC. Well, UFC's been pretty big in Mexico for a long time.
Yeah.
Famously, they took Cain Velasquez into Mexico and he fucking gassed out and got his ass.
Yeah. And you know what? Wasn't the AEW Arena? Did they announce our Arena Mexico show coming up? Didn't that just happen, or am I misremembering things?
Sorry, say that again.
AEW, didn't AEW just announce, or like it's rumored to be
They did.
announced that they're, yeah.
No,
Uh,
Grand Slam Mexico is going to be in Arena Mexico, and then like 2 days later, WWE announced this thing. Now, this thing has been
yeah.
in the works, but very clearly, I think Fightful Select had a report earlier today that the announcement came because of that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and so they're trying to hurt that, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think that was coincidence. Like I said, I think Penta and Phoenix trying so hard to get away from AEW was not a coincidence at all when we see
yeah.
the timing of how this came together.
Right. When you saw Conan like tweeting, it was like, "What goes around comes
Yeah.
around" part two. It's like, I was like, brother, I don't know if this is going to end up being good or not, man.
Yeah.
I'm on the side that it's going to end up being bad, because everything outside of WWE, the WWE touches, ends up not going well.
I
All right, so
think
question for the chat. I was pretty bullish for a long time that WWE was not buying TNA. I was like fighting against it, because like it still does not make sense to me that WWE would buy TNA, right? It like, what would they buy? Like, what are they getting? Right? They're getting what, a logo and a library.
yeah.
Access TV for doesn't pay for the fucking show, right? Like they just get a budget from Anthem to produce the show for a channel that's damn near dead. So like WWE, what would they be getting? Also, they had the MLW lawsuit and the fighter lawsuit against the UFC and TKO, because that came about because UFC bought up fucking Strikeforce and WFA
Mhm.
and WEC and all these other companies. And Pride went out of business. That's a little bit of a different thing, but they like Strikeforce was legit like doing fine, and their parent company just kind of like, I just saw like a deal on the table and took it. They didn't care about the sport. WFA was a local indie. WEC was doing pretty good in California.
Mhm.
Right out of Lemoore there in the 559 district. Shout out to my homies in the Central Valley. So they were doing good. UFC went in there, infiltrated, took them over, and then crushed them, took all the talent, and killed the companies. Right, and then so eventually that's what led to UFC getting sued by the fighters, and they just had to pay out a huge lawsuit. So I had that knowledge. I had the knowledge that there's nothing really that WWE would buying if you're TNA. If you're a television company or a television network, or if you're a independent guy or a hedge fund manager, and you think you can get a TV deal, or maybe even have one on lock, I can understand buying that. But if you're WWE, it's like, what are you getting, right? They don't
Right.
even they just now started really maximizing the WCW library. They don't do shit with their library anymore. So I don't know. So I'm putting the question out to you, Joe. Is WWE? Is there an opportunity? Would they be buying TNA? What do you think?
I kind of agree with you. I don't see the value in it for WWE. With AAA, they're getting into Mexico. If if they buy, say Pro Wrestling Noah, which sounds like there's a lot of reasons why that can't happen, but say they did, if they buy Noah, they're getting into Japan. What are they getting by buying TNA? They
Right.
haven't been, they don't have the network anymore, so they don't need the library. They're putting all their stuff, all their old library on YouTube for free. They're not going to buy TNA for whatever 50, $100 million, whatever it would be, to just put all the library, probably not even
20,
that much.
not 50 or
Yeah.
100. I think Scott Demore was trying to buy it for like 15 or something like that.
All
I
right.
can't remember the
Whatever the
exact number.
number is.
Yeah.
But they're not going to get a return on investment from buying TNA, and they've already got a partnership with them where they can just throw their guys on a TV show to get them experience. So,
Yeah.
I guess it could happen. WWE does want to be a monopoly. I still think it's pretty low at this point.
Yeah, I would still I would still bet against it at this point, but I'm not taking it off the table anymore.
Right.
Now WWE buying up AAA in a different country doesn't make them a monopoly in America. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like that those rules and laws exist in America. So them going to another country and buying up one of their companies means like nothing to locally anyway, like in the States. So I don't think this is them being a monopoly. technically by the letter of the law. It would be like Ford going to
Yeah.
like Japan and buying up Hyundai or whatever, like Toyota. That's not the same thing, right? But
Yeah.
if Ford bought up Dodge, well, it's like, okay, well, that now we're looking at possibly being a monopoly because you're buying up another American company and you're removing competition. Um, here's the thing. I think anything is possible at this point. I'm not taking it off the table. I think with their relationship with the current administration, if they were to now would be the time to do something like that because they'd probably
Right.
get away with it. And I don't know what the country's going to look like in the next election, but I would say there's a lot of people betting that it's going to stay the same,
Yeah.
not with the same president, but the same like people type of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and if that were the case, I would favor WWE, which is probably another reason why they're sucking up to these guys.
Yeah.
I think that they would be okay if they did do it, or they could have opened themselves up to a lawsuit. But I don't think they'd be opening themselves up to like a federal indictment for monopolizing. I don't think they would, like, during this current regime. I don't think so. But they could open themselves up to a lawsuit, and that could hurt the company. So who knows? We'll see. But I'm still at the point where I'm like, I don't see it happening, but I'm also like way more open to it than I was before. I do
Yeah.
think that Anthem could I do think Anthem could get out of the wrestling business eventually.
Yeah.
I don't, if they don't get a TV deal soon, I could see them just totally like trying to inflate the thing and get the books right and just kind of cut bait and see if they can sell to
Yeah.
some other guy. You know what I mean? I could see that.
I think that would be the most likely chance of WWE buying, is if Anthem was saying like, we're just going to close up shop.
Yeah.
Because at that point, then maybe WWE wants the library for future use, or maybe they just want it as an extra training grounds, just like an extra show to be able to throw their guys and their women on. If that happens, I'd see it more likely. But before today, I would have said 0%. After today's announcement, I'm closer to like 5%.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's get to this. Oh, hold on. King of the North says, that's exactly what I'm thinking, Mike. They'll get away with it. No blowback. They'll get away with it federally. I don't think they would get away with it without a lawsuit.
Yeah.
I think somebody would take that lawsuit on, for sure. Dobby says they want a global company with AAA and probably Noah or New Japan. TNA is the company they partner with in the US to try and hurt AEW. So
The
that was the thing that I've been saying for a long time. They're propping up TNA to take
yeah.
away from AEW's market share and also to avoid lawsuits. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of what I've been thinking.
Today's events is making the conspiracy people run wild with The Rock's picture from the other day. Did you see that?
Yeah, well, conspiracy
That
people. We're talking about Kevin Kelly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin. But look, say what you want about Kevin Kelly. He worked for New Japan for a long time. He knows those
Mhm.
people. He still has friends in the company. I'm sure they still talk to him. And he said that New Japan would be next. You had The Rock wearing that shirt, which was obviously not a coincidence.
Yeah.
I don't think that was about Jeff Cobb. I know some people are saying that. I don't think The Rock.
The
I'm not saying The Rock doesn't know who Jeff Cobb is. I just like looking back on it. I think something bigger is at play. Is it
the
purchasing New Japan? I think that's a reach.
All right,
But you know
so
what? New Japan's
some
fucking poor, by the way. Like
yeah.
Bushiroad, they're not making money right now. They can't afford to pay Naito. Now Naito's shot, but they can't afford to pay him. They lost Okada, they lost Will Ospreay. They lost all these other people. Things aren't really working out for them.
Mhm.
So, is it possible that WWE could buy them? Japanese companies don't like to sell to American companies, but at the end of the
Yeah.
day, you might not have a choice.
Yeah, so somebody in Discord had posted something about like the Japanese business committee or something along those lines of like who, like, you got to have some sort of approval to sell. If anybody knows anything more about that, feel free to share it. But like they said, that's why a Japanese company selling to WWE would be very unlikely, but that doesn't mean a bigger partnership that is
Yeah.
on paper can't happen. I think the part of Rock looking at the Rubik's Cube, I think two things in that picture were intentional. I think the shirt and the Rubik's Cube were both intentional. I just don't know what they mean. I don't think The Rock has ever solved a Rubik's Cube in his life before. So
Yeah,
like maybe he's just been working on the same one for the past 30 years.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joel Gertner in ECW said, "I'm like a Rubik's cube. The more you play with it, the harder it gets." That was
That's a
his
great
famous line.
line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So purchasing, I don't know, but could New Japan see value in maybe switching their partnership from AEW to WWE?
And you know, Nick Khan did reach out to New Japan before.
Yeah,
Like
he did.
that, there were negotiations. His big, like at that time, it was purely centered around Brian Danielson, wanting to let Danielson work New Japan and stay in WWE. I think that was Nick Khan just trying to get his foot in the door because he's seen the way the business was going with AEW,
Yeah.
and wanted to kind of prevent that. And I think I'm really curious if those negotiations never happen, if New Japan doesn't ultimately partner with AEW because maybe they saw what Nick Khan was seeing and they thought, oh, like things can get weird. We need to partner up with somebody who probably has our better interests at heart than WWE would. So there are past relationships there. So it is a little interesting.
It is interesting. I don't think that it's a crazy thing to think that WWE and New Japan could wind up partnering. I don't even know what like agreement New Japan and AEW have in place outside of what they agreed on for the Forbidden Door shows.
Yeah.
Access WWE doesn't have to require New Japan right away. It can be a partnership that evolves into a majority acquisition, with New Japan retaining a minority. Yeah, I mean, look, I after today, nothing would surprise me. Nothing would
Yeah.
surprise me. All right, this guy that's this guy is keeps putting comments in all caps. He says he's 56 years old and his phone is stuck on all caps. I get the feeling that he might have a flip phone, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of people and like he has to go down to Walmart and put minutes on his phone. So since he did that, I'm gonna go ahead and he went and put minutes on his phone today, and he wants to talk to us. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a comment on. He says Steve Hanna wants to put German DNA into every Japanese wrestler's culo. That means butthole, by the way. From his wife Phyllis and his emo son Steve Jr., who cut their family dog up and infected his sister with AIDS. So that's a Steve Hanna, ladies and gentlemen. He was dying to get that comment on the show. So there you go.
Steve Hanna sounds like an interesting character.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds like he's like a future WWE champion to me. So,
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of the WWE, this is the reason we're here. What did you think of WrestleMania Night 1?
You know, I would say before the main event, I had it at like a solid C, maybe
Yeah,
C plus. I think the main event for me took it to like a B minus, maybe a B.
okay.
I really did like the main event. A lot of it just felt like it was there. And I had overall issues with the buildup. I didn't think the buildup was great.
Me either.
Really confused at like so the Jade Cargill Naomi match in particular, which I thought was a good match. I thought good.
I really like that one.
So
There's people saying that was like the worst match on the show. I
yeah,
thought it was second best. I like
yeah.
that match.
So my only thing with it was all right. So Naomi tried to murder Jade Cargill. She put her through a
Right.
windshield. All
Yeah.
right. Jade Cargill came back and tried to murder Naomi. She slammed the cage door shut on her head. And then they go out and they had a regular wrestling match.
Yeah.
Like, shouldn't it have been some sort of street fight, last woman standing? And like, maybe you didn't want to do that with Jade's her inexperience. You know, she's still not had that many matches and she's just coming back. But the buildup, you would think, would lend credence to a more violent match, and they just went and had a wrestling match.
Yeah.
That was kind of
I
my
think
big thing with it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the story would have warranted more violence.
Yeah,
But that said, like as a match, it was by far Jade's best match. I thought.
yeah,
They probably because of Jade's limitations probably didn't need to go as long. I feel like it was a rehearsed match and they just tried to get in a lot. And
yeah.
because of that, Jade got lost at times. But Naomi, being the pro that she is, and Naomi is not fucking Ricky Steamboat either, but she's
Right.
much better than Jade. Naomi kind of brought her back a little
Mhm.
bit, and they were able to get some stuff done. I like Jade's power moves. I just
Yeah.
like Jade ain't got to be Ricky Steamboat. You know what I mean?
Right.
She just got to hit some power moves and look cool, and then she's money. That's all you need out of her.
The-
I know everybody is addicted to work rate and slapping your leg and kicking out of bullshit, but not everybody has to be like that. I think the attraction
yeah.
for Jade is she's just a big badass chick that can hit some fucking cool power moves, and she hit one of the sickest like twisting power bomb things I've ever seen in my life.
That was amazing. I just wish she would have remembered that wasn't the finish.
Yes, yes,
That
yeah,
was the big, like, the referee had to tell her, like, no, like, honestly, they should have just counted the three there. Like, don't even make her, don't make her get back up and do the move. She went for the pin, just count the three.
yeah. She's a very much, and I mean this like as a compliment. She is a like a less charismatic Sid.
Yeah,
Like she's got aura when she comes to the room. Like you can tell she's
right.
a star. She's got aura. She likes to hit the power moves, which is cool. But she doesn't have like that Sid psycho Sid charisma that he had. But
Yeah,
Sid would get lost in his matches sometimes too. But he would actually end up having some really good matches depending on the opponent. And I thought the match was really good. I saw some people saying 1 star. So yeah, I was just like, maybe I was watching something different. Then I saw other people saying that the crowd was silent for the match.
yeah.
I had my Beats headphones on. I was like, I heard them just fine. They sounded like they enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah, there were matches where the crowd wasn't reacting. That
Yeah.
was not one of them.
No,
Like, that
no.
they had a very good reaction, especially the finish there. That power bomb she did, the crowd loved it. So,
Yeah. And she
yeah,
went for the pin and then just got up and then hit her actual finish on
yeah,
her, which was pretty funny, I thought. So if you're like a wrestling purist and you don't like it being a little bit sloppy, which I don't really mind my wrestling matches a little sloppy at times. I think if it's too clean, that's like it just tells me that they're just I don't know. You know what I mean?
right.
It's like meh.
It
I
should be
don't
a
mind it being a
struggle
little bit
because
sloppy
the
at times.
other person is trying to prevent you from doing what you're doing. So
Yeah.
there should be a struggle and some sense of, I'm not letting you do this move.
Yeah. I thought for the most part I liked the opener Gunter versus
Mhm.
Jey Uso, but it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. That doesn't mean they didn't have a good match, but I just thought it would be way more dramatic. I thought the finish
Yeah.
would be far more dramatic than it was.
So
I do like that he submitted him and made him tap out though. I thought that was good.
yeah. So everybody I had seen online through Discord, Twitter, Reddit had they were upset at how fast Gunther tapped out. That's a direct, like, it was the exact same finish of when he lost the title to Ilya Dragunov at
Yeah.
NXT. He tapped out to the chokehold almost immediately. I'm not gonna say why he did it. That I'm assuming that's something that was his decision, the way he came up with it. I've seen people on Reddit say like he knew he was beat, so like he didn't want to sit there and suffer.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's once the bully gets punched in the face, he can't take it. Maybe
That's
that's it.
That's I think that's it right there because
Yeah,
they're telling a similar story that they told about Ilya Dragunov.
right.
Except for Ilya is amazing.
Yeah.
And
Like,
Jey Uso is not good at all.
yeah, I thought the match was good. There was only two super kicks. I counted. I I count that
No
shit when I
way.
know.
You're
Yeah,
lying. You really?
there were two super
Wow.
kicks.
Okay.
Um, and so I was happy with that. There were more spears than there needed to be. I think Jay speared him like 3 times, and his spears are not good.
No.
And on a
He
weekend where we're going to see Braun Breaker like break 3 people in half, like, Jay
yeah,
Uso needs
and
to
then
stop doing the
you had
spear.
right, and you had Roman in the main event doing all his spears. I think the spear
Yeah,
is super played out.
it
There's only
is.
Braun is the only good spear right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Well, Rollins did make Roman Spear look great tonight, but he almost killed himself doing it because
Yeah.
he flopped himself back hard.
Yeah.
So like, and some, because sometimes it is on the guy taking the move, because you don't really want to run through the guy and potentially
Uh,
break his
I
ribs. But
I disagree. Goldberg would disagree. You do run through the motherfucker.
right, Jay's just not that explosive athlete to make a spear look good. And
No,
when you
and
got a guy like Braun Breaker doing it, you
right.
just
His spear looks bad. His super kicks look bad, but he's somehow the most like one of the most over baby faces in the company.
he's yeah, he's got a connection with the audience that
Yeah.
very few have.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
not at the level of Hogan. I'm not saying that, but it's
No.
kind of like Hogan. Where like Hogan wasn't a great in-ring technician. He did what he did, but he was over. John Cena the same way.
Yeah, but
That's kind of what Jey Uso is.
here's the difference. John Cena and Hogan were actually really good workers. Right. They ended up limiting what they did because they knew what they did great and they kind of
Yeah.
stuck to that, but they could actually go, right? Like they would send Hogan to Japan and he could like
Mhm.
hang with those dudes. I don't think Jey Uso could hang with those dudes. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I can't deny that the guy is over, and it's
Yeah.
organic and it's fun, and I'm happy for him. And he's finally the world champion. I don't think it's going to be a long reign, so he should enjoy it while it lasts.
I think
Um,
there's a natural opponent selected for him already.
who's that?
Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, I
It,
can see that.
the guy handpicked by The Rock, the guy who The Rock was the first one to announce the big extension. The Rock gave him the gift.
Yeah,
He's the new face of Project Rock, and all of the bloodline stuff that has infuriated Drew McIntyre for the last several years. I feel like that's a natural feud that's going to happen.
yeah, I feel you. Um, so after the main event or after the first match, it kind of like went into like a lull. It picks back up with the Jade and Naomi, goes into like a little bit of a lull again until we get to the main event. So I'm trying to remember the card. What was the second match on the show? I don't have the card in
So
front of me.
the second match was the New Day and the War Raiders, which
Yeah,
that match there was no reaction for.
no,
No
that
reaction.
like you had Jey Uso had everybody up, and then they killed the crowd
Yeah.
for the New Day and War Raiders tag match. So that match was terrible. New Day is the new tag team champions, though, which I assumed was going to happen.
Yeah.
And so when we get to match number 3, it's Naomi and Jade Cargill, and Jade Cargill gets the victory there. Match number 4. What was match number 4?
That was the Jacob Fatu and LA Knight match,
Yeah,
which I did like. That match did have good reactions, especially like, so I watching the spot, the moonsault into the BFT, like it doesn't actually look that good, but the crowd popped big time for it.
right.
Like
Well,
they bought it.
yeah, and Jacob Fatu is a mega star. Like,
Yeah.
LA Knight is a very limited performer. I wish they would have had Jacob in there with a much better worker, but
Mhm.
LA Knight's super over. So it's like,
Right.
it's like, can Jacob get a really good match out of a guy who's super over but can't really like do a whole lot?
Which you have to do in WWE.
You do,
Like if you want to reach the top, you have to be able to work with the guys who are over but not great. You have to be able to work with the Miz's, right?
yeah. And I thought they had like an okay match, right? Like
Yeah,
nothing to write home about. But the important part was that they got the finish right, and Jacob
right.
Fatu is the new United States champion.
Which I've been begging for the United States title to get younger for like a year because
Yeah,
it's been bouncing around between like 42-year-old LA Knight and 44-year-old Shinsuke Nakamura. Like that title, especially when the opposite of it is Braun Breaker with the Intercontinental title being 27 years old, it just needed to get younger to build up the younger mid card. And Fatu is the perfect guy for it.
yeah, I agree. Next was El Grande Americano versus Ray Phoenix. Ray Phoenix replaced Rey Mysterio. I again, I the match, it was good while it lasted. It had the gimmick finish with the metal inside the mask. I thought with the announcement of AAA, I know they're trying to build to something bigger with Grande Americano and like
Mhm.
like maybe a mask versus mask match, which is why he didn't lose. I just thought that with the announcement of AAA and the whole thing and Vikingo at ringside, Ray Phoenix's first Mania, they probably should have had Ray Phoenix go over because you can still tell that story.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just want to say like kudos to Ray Phoenix, like what a professional, like and both guys really. This match was not supposed to happen. Those two have never worked together before. Ray Phoenix didn't even have WrestleMania gear. He came out in a hoodie
Yeah,
or like a jacket. He found out probably 24 hours ago, like, hey, Mysterio's groin's torn, like we've got to have a replacement. So that's a big spot to be just thrust in when you've been in the company for like a month now.
yeah.
I thought it was solid, nothing overly spectacular. Given like how fast this match came together, they probably didn't want to go out and do too much. That what was like a 450 moonsault
That
that
was crazy.
that yeah, I thought that was really impressive. That had to hurt both guys like hell,
Yeah,
but I thought it looked cool.
yeah. No, it looked cool. Like Gable and Phoenix are great. They just did the
Yeah,
gimmick finish, which is kind of like, but that's look, that's what you get in WWE is these gimmick
yeah.
finishes, and so
I
that's
hope
why it's
that
like this.
builds to something later, right? Like I don't
Right.
know what it would be, but I do hope that like something happens with that later.
Yeah, and we'll say maybe it's gonna be a when worlds collide. So
Right.
Not when worlds collide. Just that's not Power Man 5000. So just worlds collide. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next match. I didn't see this match, so just but I know that Tiffany Stratton won. So Tiffany Stratton
Yes.
versus Charlotte Flair. How was it? I watched the entrances and then I had to go get dinner.
Yeah, so I thought it was solid. Like if I was to give a star rating, like maybe three and three quarters to like a 4.25 would be the ceiling.
Right.
There was some clunkiness to it,
So
but
three
there
and a
was
quarter out of 7 stars. Got it.
yes, three and I don't know. I took my math in Mountain Grove. Forgive me.
Yeah. Yeah.
3.75 to four and a quarter.
Okay.
Um, there was some clunkiness to it. It was a lot of Charlotte getting offense in. It was really physical. At the finish, it did look like Tiffany Stratton may have lost a tooth or like chipped her teeth. She had a nasty like mat burn on her forehead, but they did a clean finish, which I appreciated. If you go online, like half the people were saying, man, Charlotte really took care of Tiffany there and really guided her through the match. The other half was, man, Charlotte was really sandbagging the shit out of her, wasn't she?
Yeah.
So I guess it just depends on what perspective you wanted to take.
Right. Well, Charlotte's really polarizing, right? So
Yeah.
she could walk down the street, do something totally inoffensive, and someone's going to be offended by it.
Yeah.
So and look, I mean, look, that's part of her being super successful, her being a bit of a pain in the ass, and her having like 13 facial reconstructive surgeries. Like people are gonna fucking bag on her no matter what. And
Yeah.
so it's just one of those things that she's got to deal with.
If
But
she wasn't Charlotte Flair, I think she would be less polarizing, but she also probably wouldn't have 13 world titles to her name.
right. Well, because they were flipping the title to her a lot because they
Yeah.
wanted to just inflate that number to get it close to her dad's, right? And everybody kind of saw through it, even the wrestlers saw through it. And then
Yeah.
now, and she appears to just not be grateful. At least that's the way it seems on television.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say Tiffany Stratton did maybe have one of the best WrestleMania entrances of all time. They did the whole like Barbie boxes, like two of them were videos of her in a Barbie box, and then her in the center coming out of a Barbie box, which she said was an idea she had a couple years ago for NXT, and then Triple H brought it back to her for WrestleMania. Thought
Nice.
that was really great, really well done.
Nice. All right. So let's go to the main event. Roman Reigns, CW Punk, and Seth Rollins. Punk comes out being played to the ring by Living Color. I thought that was really cool. He was super over, man. He really was.
Yeah.
It was like I knew he would be over, but he kind of like seemed like he had a bigger reaction than Roman and Seth did. To be honest.
The video package for him was really well done.
Yeah, they had
with
his old
this fire
scene.
burns.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That
side note, did I ever tell you I got to see Kill Switch Engage perform that song at Soundcheck?
Oh, you did. That's cool.
So the first Rocklahoma I went to, we got there super early. Me, my dad, and Ray Fields for some reason, and
Wait,
they were
you
hanging.
took fucking Ray Fields across the border into Oklahoma.
Yeah. The story ends really well.
Okay.
So we got there super early. Dad and Ray hanging out backstage where there was shade, drinks, and whatever. And
Oh,
I
God.
didn't know what I could do, so I just kind of like walked out in front of the stage. I wanted to see what it looked like, and Kill Switch Engage was there doing their sound check. Played that song. Did not play it in their set, so like I felt like they played it just for me.
Chances
Then
are, yeah.
yeah, and then we seen Slash and Creed that night. Went home, got pulled over at 3 a.m. in Joplin. Ray had a warrant out for his arrest, and they
Yeah.
arrested Ray. That's
That's why you don't take those criminals across the border, man. I could have told you how
yeah,
that was going to end.
yeah. But it was funny.
Yeah. Did you guys leave him there in prison? Like I know
Yeah,
he's back now.
yeah, no. There was no bail on him. We couldn't like go bail him out and take him home. He had to stay there for a couple months, I think.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice. They should have shipped him to El Salvador. All right.
yeah,
Yeah, all right. So main event. You know what? I'll be honest. Matt Tristo a couple weeks ago texted me. He goes, "Hey, do you think Paul Heyman's gonna turn on Roman and Punk and join up with Seth?" I was like, "Nah, that's probably not gonna happen." Turns out I don't know what I'm talking about. Very much a casual WWE watcher.
yeah,
Because that's exactly what happened, and
yeah,
everybody saw it coming but me, apparently. Seth finally gets the big victory because he's been losing a lot.
Right.
Like no one takes more pins. Like no top star in WWE takes more pins than Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
And here he is. He gets the big victory on WrestleMania Night 1. Paul Heyman turns on both Roman and Punk, and Seth gets the pin over Roman. So that's a big deal.
Yeah, and I think they really need to set up Seth versus Roman one-on-one at
Yeah.
some point. Like Roman has said, and with wrestlers, you never know what to believe, but he said he thinks he's got about 2 or 3 years left before he's done.
Yeah.
It sounds like he wants to move on to other things. He's made all the money in the world. That's a chapter that they really have to close. I I wasn't 100% positive on what Heyman would do, but I could have told you the finish, I think about 2 weeks ago, when Seth, they did a segment. I can't remember if it was Raw or SmackDown, but Seth had one of his flamboyant vests on, like really puffy, but it looked exactly like his Shield vest, and
Yeah.
he hit Roman in the back with the chair. When you know WWE, you know when they're telling you something. And then on SmackDown on Friday, Seth said, "That's not a prediction, it's a spoiler." Almost every single time, with the exception of, I think, one match, every single time that's been said, that's been the outcome. So, like, they'll tell it to you and then just see if you believe it or not. I'm really curious to see where it goes, though, with Seth and Heyman from here. But I
Yeah.
think Seth and Roman have to face each other within the next calendar year.
Well, I think that's the program going forward because I fully believe in we'll see tomorrow, but I think that Cena is going to beat Cody. Cody's going to take time
Yes.
off, and the next program will be Cena and Punk. Punk didn't get pinned, and then
Mhm.
the other top program is going to be
It,
Rollins and Roman.
I would think it'll be Cena and Orton. They're going to do Backlash in St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah, and
that's
Orton's
probably the
very likely
match.
going to pin Rusev tomorrow, right?
Yeah, Rusev is the only guy I could think of. I'm still holding out hope for Nick Aldis, but why not bring Rusev back and then immediately pin him? That seems like such a great idea. I
Well,
guess you gotta make sure that his allergy to laying on his back for 3 seconds is gone. So it's
yeah.
the best
Well,
way to test it out.
he's coming back to the Fed. It's fucking Randy Orton. He'll do
Yeah,
business for sure. He's not going to say no to losing to Randy Orton.
yeah,
Like he would say no to losing to Sammy Guevara, but he's not going to say no to losing to Randy.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, I got to run, Joe. Dude, this was a very last second idea. I just happened to have the house to myself, and I had watched WrestleMania, so I was like, screw it, let's do it. So thank you for being available. Keep your phone handy tomorrow.
Yeah,
There's no chance that JD's watching Mania Night too.
right.
So I might need to tag you in tomorrow too. So just keep your phone handy.
All right, just let me know.
All right, man. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for us this time. So stay tuned. So this was just a special, random edition of overtime with Mike and Joe. I need to make sure I get the labeling correct, but I went live on Twitter and YouTube randomly. So thanks everybody for being here, and until next time, mahalo.